There we
There
go.
we go. Now
Got
we got
it.
it. Hello, Mary.
Hello.
Hello, Jackie.
Hi.
Hello, Karen. Hi, everybody. Erna, hello. Ashley, Erica. We're just rolling in. Oh, yeah.
All
I love it.
right.
As people keep rolling in.
Well, we are good tonight. I know last week we did agency, but I felt like we didn't cover enough agency. So we're going to kind of roll with the second week of agency. But these are all new questions. Like I went through and made sure I'm like, okay, I pretty much remembered what we did last time. Hopefully I didn't repeat any and we could hit some more tonight. Zoom had you
Really?
doing.
Can we really ever do too much agency?
No.
Like,
We spend so much time on contracts and finance because everybody tends to miss questions on finance and contracts. But a lot of times agency is tricky too.
yeah, I would agree. I mean, if you don't know agency, you're not passing this test. So,
For
because,
sure.
you're taking a test to become an agent.
Naomi asked me, I don't know if she's here or not, but she asked me to explain real quickly, not that this is agency, this is more contracts, but no, deeds and titles actually. Joint tenancy versus tenants in common, which is a common question we get asked a lot in like our tutoring sessions and things. So let's do that real quick. Joint tenancy, remember we have PITT, P-I-T-T, possession, interest, time, title. We're on the same title. We start at the same time. We can't bring in somebody later on. We have equal interest. If it's me and Candace that are joint tenants, we'd be 50-50. If it's me, Candace, and William, there'd be each of us would have a third. Remember, joint tenancy has the right of survivorship. So whoever survives and outlasts gets the property. So if me, Candace, and Bob, this unknown third person, were joint tenants together, Bob dies. Now Candace and I absorb Bob's ownership. Now we're half and half. We were a third. Now we're half and half. Then if I die, Candace is the last person standing. Candace owns the property by herself, which is called what? Put in the chat. Yeah, Ashley, we put it on the YouTube page. So nothing, we were just kind of chatting, Marty. So like if Candace is the last person remaining out of this joint tenancy, now she owns it by herself. Severalty. Exactly. That's the penalty. So I always say, like with joint tenancy, we're joined. With tenancy in common, we just have stuff in common. So you do tenancy in common, Candace.
Tenancy in common is how you all thought ownership worked to begin with. If you have A, B, C, and D who all buy into a property, it could be equal. Or maybe A puts in, 70%, and then you've got 10% from B, 10% from C, 10% from D. It doesn't have to be equal. And if you are one of those people who's a co-owner, you could sell your interest if you want. You could mortgage your interest if you really wanted to. You could give it away. It's just like you would think if somebody was co-ownership.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And William just asked you, he said, can you explain device? I remember you were talking about it this morning.
Oh, yeah. If I leave real estate to you in my will, I devise it to you. I've left it to Williams. Let's say William's my brother and I leave him my house and my will. I've devised it to him and he's the deviser.
Right. And close to that is demise, D-E-M-I-S-E, which has to do with leasing.
Ah, okay. I didn't know that one. So then we've got what Jasleen asked us. One question I have is when a tenant leaves their personal property, can the owner sell it? If yes, what is the time period to when they can sell it? That is a state specific and it varies by the state. So that one we would probably have to tell you to reference back to your state law on. But typically, if a personal property gets abandoned after the lease is done, after a certain period of time, yes, they can sell it or get rid of it. But like some states make you, if a tenant walks off and leaves stuff or you evict somebody, you have to put their stuff in storage. Okay, if a broker is an agent of a seller, he owes to the buyer what? Only a duty to disclose any items which directly relate to the sales price. The same fiduciary obligations, only the duty to answer questions honestly, or a duty of fair and honest dealing. What does he owe to the buyer? Remember, we got to be a duty of fair and honest dealing. When we're dealing with someone who's a customer, here the agent represents the seller, not the buyer. He's not a dual agent, but he still has to be honest and fair. And he also, reason why A's not in is he does have to disclose things that are material defects with the property, right? Something that he knows is a defect with that property. If I know the basement leaks, I have to tell you that. Whether or not it's related to the sales price is neither here nor there.
The
If it's
word
a
only. It's
yeah,
that word only should be like, "Wee-oo, wee-oo." Let me
yep.
make sure that this is saying what I think it says. All right,
Mhm.
next question.
This one's yours there.
In some cases, a broker's commission can be earned if he can prove he set in a motion of series of events which resulted in the sale of a property. If a broker produces a ready, willing, and able buyer, he would most likely, is it A, be considered the procuring cause of sale, B, showed property to the buyer, C, have secured the buyer's signature on the sales contract, or D, have an exclusive right to sell listing? Hmm. What say you? So we got lots of A's coming in. What do you think it is? I think most people are giving us an A because, yes, that is the right answer. The being the procuring cause means you are the reason. You are the person who is a good part of the reason why this house got under contract and closed. And remember, when there's a battle about commissions, generally your licensing board, your commission doesn't care about that. That's something, if another agent doesn't pay you, take that up at the realtor association, broker to broker, something like that. Your commission or your licensing board cares about how you treat clients and customers. Whether or not another broker pays you sounds like a personal problem to them.
Yep. William made a good point in the chat. He said he has been working on the vocabulary worksheet in Prep Agent, and that is awesome. I think that's great. I always tell people to start with that.
Yep, that
Definitely.
vocab worksheet is awesome.
All right. Now, this one always seems to sneak its way into a test question, doesn't it? The relationship of a property manager with the owner is a limited partnership, special agency, general agency, or dual agency. What do you guys think?
All very important words.
All right. So, general agency is the relationship between the property manager and the owner. Remember that the property manager is wearing a lot of hats for one client. He's making sure the leases gets paid. He's making sure the paint gets done. He's making sure the grass gets mowed. And he's also able to what we call bind the principal, right? He gets to his property management agreement says he can make certain decisions on behalf of the owner, and the owner is bound to that, right? Which is different than if I'm a listing agent or a buyer's agent, I wouldn't be doing that. And that's special agency.
So
Anybody
Jasleen,
remember? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, Jasleen said general agent is someone who can do everything. No, the
No.
everything is
Yeah.
going to be more like universal. And I'm going
Yep.
to use the word everything in quotes because it's not 100% everything. But when somebody can make basically any type of decision about your life, like a power of attorney,
Yeah.
then that's going to be universal agency.
She read my mind because that's what I was going to say next, which is the one where I can make even more decisions. And Candace answered that. That's universal, right? When I have a power of attorney.
All
Okay.
right. Which of the following is a requirement for a valid agency relationship? Which of the following is a requirement for a valid agency relationship? Is it mutual consent, compensation, a written agreement, or a brokerage license? What say you? Okay, we got a C, we got a couple of A's, 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 we got a C, A, we got a C, we got an A, we got an A, we got a C. Like it's A, which is what we have most of, mutual consent. Like you can't walk up to me and be like, "Hey, Candace," or I can't walk up to you and be like, "Hey, Maria, I'm your agent now." Well, wait a minute. Like, no, you actually, Maria has to be like, "Yes, yeah, I want you to be my agent, Candace. You cannot have any type of agency without consent." Oh, I was gonna say you could show them where to find the words as long as we had to
Oh,
restart.
yeah. Let's do this because we're can you guys see it? See the vocabulary worksheet? Forget now who asked that. But this is the button, and you guys can go through, and if you click on my definition, like I was showing somebody, like if they didn't know one of the words, I write in there, need to study. So I know I need to go back to this one. But let's see. Candace, give me what's D here? If I was going to do this one, bundle of rights, what's D?
Well, that's a good question. I refuse to answer. Can anybody tell us? Can
I will.
anybody tell us what Deep Sea stands for? I don't always, I don't give all the answers away all the time. Can somebody tell us? Now, guys, will you scroll back up? I don't want you to leave the screen, but just scroll back up. If you all, you
Here.
see how it says at the top in the yellow, you can access the previous PDF vocabulary worksheet at the bottom of the page. If what you want is a worksheet where like everything is just kind of listed out, click on that link and it's going to take you to the bottom. We
What's
have
the
right of possession. Oh, there it goes.
disposition, there we go.
Disposition.
Enjoyment.
Employment.
Why can I not type? Enjoyment, exclusion. If I don't like my pesky neighbor, I
Exclusion.
can say don't be coming in my property.
And control.
And control. So then I would check myself and I would say, well, am I right or am I wrong? And I would flip over here to the prep agent definition. I would say, okay, the legal rights of the real estate holder includes the right of possession, the right of control, the right of exclusion, the right of enjoyment, and the right of disposition, which we were right. So we can make a note here, like, I know this one and move on, right? And it will save as long as you're logged in. Hopefully you will type better than me. So I don't know what the heck I want tonight. All right. So that's how to do that one. Let's go back to our practice exam here, resume our laws of agency one. I don't remember whose turn it was. You want to do this one, Candace?
Sure. Once an agency relationship is ended, any confidential information learned by the agent during the relationship is it A, still confidential, B, a part of the MLS historical database, C, shared with future clients, or D, sealed in boxes and stored with an affidavit? Now, you all are giving me the answer A, flying in fast and furious, which in general is right. I just want to remind people in North Carolina, and there's a couple of other states, that's not a true statement. So just make sure your state, that's how it works.
So if a principal terminates the listing agreement during the listing period, the broker may be able to do any of the following except is it recover marketing expenses, encourage termination of any contracts in process. I feel like this is a repeat from last week. Sorry, guys. I'll let one slip through. Continue to cooperate with any subsequent listing broker or collect a commission for a transaction in process. Which one would they not be allowed to do?
And people are remembering from last week. We know what this answer is.
Mhm. We cannot encourage people to break contracts. I'm glad you guys remembered that one. You can't say, hey, break this contract to come work with me. All right, Candace.
A broker would be obligated to inform all of the individuals of the fiduciary responsibilities of the broker's firm under the law of agency, except, I'll read that one more time because there's lots of blah, 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 blah. A broker would be obligated to inform all of the following individuals of their fiduciary responsibilities of the broker's firm under the law of agency, except. So, who doesn't have to be told about the broker's fiduciary duties? A, the broker's sales staff. B, the buyer's broker. C, the buyer's lender. Or D, sub-agent brokers. And you all are saying it is C. That is, of course, the correct answer. The buyer's lender. The buyer's lender doesn't have any part of this fiduciary relationship, so we don't have to disclose anything to them about agency. That's outside the scope of how our agency works.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see. Oh, this is a famous question that we always get some derivative of on our practice exam and is fair game for our real exam. Which of the following must be done before placing a for sale sign on a listed property? Is it get the neighbor's permission? Is it obtain the property owner's consent? Is it list the property? Or is it all of the above?
I say A, get the neighbor's permission.
Yeah. So they
Doesn't
would
matter
have
whether or
to
not your neighbor
obtain
wants
it.
it. Come on.
Yeah. I
And we
understand,
love questions like that.
like,
We
the
love
whole
that.
some HOAs are like, no for sale signs. I'm like, that's just weird. I mean, I could see if it was like political signs are kind of controversial sometimes, but for sale sign, what's going on there? So, yeah, you would have to obtain the property owner's written consent for sure. For sure.
A personal, revocable, non assignable right to use the property of another is called a personal, revocable, non assignable right to use the property of another is called an easement, an option, a license, or the lease. I feel like that's a song. An easement, an option, a license, or the lease. An easement, an option, a license, or the lease. All right. See, you all got it. Now let's talk about it. What is it about that question that makes the answer license and not easement? And I'm going to let you all answer it. We're not going to say yet. Can any one of you all tell me what is the key part about why the answer is a license and not easement? It is. It's the revocable. You can have a personal easement, and for the most part, easements aren't assignable like that. I mean, if it's a personal easement, but revocable, licenses can be revoked. Easements cannot be revoked. That
Yeah.
is the key there. So good job, guys. If you got that right, give yourself a little pat. You know what? Do a little dance. Do a little dance. Just make, do a little snake.
Very good. Oh, I picked a hard, long one for me. Didn't mean to click that one. All right, I'm going to read this long one. Within the agency agreement is a statement that binds the buyer to paying the broker's fee if within a stated number of days, the buyer purchases a property that was shown to the buyer during the agency period. This clause is called, is it the broker protection clause, also sometimes AKA the safety clause? Is it the automatic extension clause? Is it the buyer liability clause? Or is it the limited coverage clause?
Got lots of A's coming in as the answer. Lots of A's.
So, the broker protection clause, you can't pull somebody aside while I'm in the bathroom and say, hey, Mr. Buyer, come back when this license or listing expires in a week and we'll cut me out of the deal. That's the idea behind this. It's going to make sure that you don't, after the listing expires for a certain period of time, come back and try to steal my buyer and work a backdoor deal. A listing broker may legally refuse to present a proper offer on the property to the seller. When is it? A, the broker plans to purchase the property himself, so he's trying to keep it on the down low so he can get the best deal possible. The broker is acting as a gratuitous agent. He's acting on the express instructions from the seller, or the seller has already accepted a backup offer. Acting on the express instructions from the seller. There are some states that we have to turn it in whether they say yes or no. Too bad. But
Well, I'm going to say this. If you all are studying state specific, you need to be clear on it. Are there some rules that happen a lot across a lot of states? Yeah. 9 times out of 10, this is going to be the right answer. But it's really important for you to know the stuff and the information and the laws for your state. And which portion, if you're in a state with 2 tests, a national portion and a state portion, looking at which section you're in.